So what we have noted earlier was that there are 100 shares that have raised $400, and then the par value is $1, and the additional paid in capital is $3. So that $1 plus $3 is equal to $4, which is the per share price. Now what exactly is par value? See, par value is actually a random value altogether, but you can assume that this is a legal value used for reporting in the shareholders equity section. So it's just a legal requirement. Many shares may not have even any par value altogether. So if a par value is there or is present in a share, then you have to bifurcate this into two parts. So say for example, the shareholders equity section actually would represent $400 that was raised by the firm. So this shareholders equity will be divided into two parts. One, par value, and the second one is called as additional paid in capital, APIC. Additional paid in capital, APIC. So here the par value would be, there were 100 shares, so your amount would be 100 here, and the additional paid in capital was $3 was the additional amount, and 100 shares, so the additional paid in capital would be $300. So this 400 has been divided into two parts, 100 and 300. So I guess you must have understood what these two mean. Again, par value is just a legal value. It has no meaning altogether and no connection with the fair value. So please note, legal value is not equal to the fair value. So in our case, we had noted that there were 100 shares that has raised $400. Now these 100 shares were actually totally a random number altogether. Please note that this is again a random number. We could have actually had released 1000 shares for $400. But what would have been the per share price in this case? The per share price would have been 400 divided by 1000. So this would have been $0.4. Here in this case, per share price was 400 divided by 100. So it came out to be $4 that we saw earlier. So this number of shares issued are again totally a random number. But here again there are some terminologies that you must note. So let's talk about this case here. There's something called number of shares authorized. Now, number of shares authorized is that the company A, which we were talking about, has a legal go-ahead to release these many number of shares in total. So let's say this number was 200 in this case of company A. So they were authorized to issue 200 shares. How many shares were issued in total? Shares issued were 100. So we have seen this earlier. Shares issued were only 100, but shares authorized were 200. So we have now seen that the authorized and the issued shares can be different. Can at any point of time shares issued can be greater than authorized? Now it's an obvious question. Shares issued can never be greater than the authorized, because you have to first take an authorization from the SEC as to how many number of shares you can issue at maximum, and hence there cannot be a condition where shares issued can be greater than the authorized number of shares. Okay, so how many shares were not issued? That were unissued in this case. So in this case 200 was authorized, shares issued were 100, so unissued would be 200 minus 100. This will come out to be 100 shares were unissued.